Okay, so now I'm going to go through a couple of key aspects for each one of these focus areas that we're going to look at today. The first one is positioning. And if we look at positioning, we also need to look at what we're really good at, our core competency, and understand whether the market we have has an appetite for our core competency, or we'd like to potentially shift and move into a slightly different market, a slight offshoot. And we may have multiple products that are better served for different segments of the market. So looking at our positioning, we also need to look at which segments of the market we would really like to own, and there'll be one or two that you can take a strong position in where all the margin is and may have a barrier to entry, but we can work on that with other aspects of marketing to cut through some of the noise that's out there and some of the misconceptions. Okay, so the next area we're going to look at is focus. And if we look at focus, so let's just say for now we've done some work around our positioning and we really know where the market exists and what we're really good at and how we can meet the market's needs and align those two aspects. And then we look at focus. Focus is all about looking at the activity that we're doing and also measuring the result of that activity. So usually what happens is we focus on outcomes, not inputs. So in terms of activity, we actually need to look at the inputs, what's going into the activity. So focus is driven largely reactively in a lot of cases. And until you start measuring inputs in terms of sales, so I'm talking about number of calls or number of leads that are coming into the business or number of conversions from point A to point B, which might be phone call to quote for argument's sake, and then or phone call to scope, then to quote, and actually having a sales process that you measure and measuring it really well, you won't have any focus, or the focus will be reactive and even production based or outcome based. So it doesn't make a lot of difference in terms of producing new and better results. So we position well, and then we want to focus our activity. We need to measure the inputs or the action-based KPIs. Meeting frequency in line with measurements in terms of KPIs is really important, because people learn when you review their activity. So the more you review people's activity in line with the actions that they've been taking and the results that's been producing, the more people learn and the better they get, very quickly, I might add. Okay, so now we're going to have a quick look at sales processes, new and existing. Now these are quite different, because an existing purchase or a purchase from an existing customer generally is not a significant purchase. In some cases where you have to do big quotes or project manage a job, the existing purchase can be of a reasonably significant kind of buying decision. However, if the relationship's strong, it lowers the amount of risk in terms of, or from the customer's perspective. And however, in the case of new potential business and winning new business, most companies fall into a consultative style of selling, largely. So we need to get good at that. Selling. Not only do we need to get good at consultative selling, we also need to make sure consultative selling is in line with the delivery of your product. And if it's not, in comes a whole bunch of problems from production and delivery, because people that are responsible to deliver the product in a certain time frame can have a lot of difficulty doing that if the product's been underquoted in terms of hours to produce, or margins have been eroded to win the deal. So we need to approach consultative selling completely differently. We need to actually rewrite the book from scratch. Some of the skills that people have are transferable, however there are always missing components in the sales process, especially for new business, where people end up being forced to compete on price and they don't build enough value while they're communicating with a prospective customer. So building value is all about being a value creator in the sales process, not a value communicator. Gone are the days of the insurance salesperson where they stick their foot in the door, get inside and start communicating features and benefits. We're really looking at how you really mine for needs and understand the customer's desires. So when you do that, selling becomes a whole lot easier, because it's not really selling, it's really more uncovering and working alongside people. It becomes natural and it even becomes enjoyable. Okay, now last area we're going to talk about is delivery. And it's all about keeping your promises. So delivery is about managing expectations. And we can't always deliver on time, unfortunately. However, who do you think is responsible for keeping the customer's promise? And the answer is actually everybody. Unfortunately, it lands on the warehouse or usually a production type of person to contact the customer and tell the customer whether their product's going to arrive on time or not. So it's really important that the whole process is mapped and people have a fairly good idea of the steps and responsibilities assigned, including a bit of training around how I manage the customer's expectation for the delivery person, warehouse person, as the case may be. So all in all, it's about making a promise, leading a category you can own in line with your core competency, and keeping your promises. Then measure the heck out of everything in the middle. What you measure you can manage, and what you focus on you get more of. If you focus reactively on what you're not getting, that's not a productive mindset. If you can focus everybody on KPIs and inputs that cause better results, find the key driver and empower and enable that, have good meeting frequency around how you're going and reviews, you'll win the game.